You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to rest.
Hi everyone, and welcome from your Intuition Queen to the new season of Intuitive Queens podcast. Oh my God, I have missed you so much. I can't believe I didn't see you for almost a year, but here I am, and this is the first episode. And since it's the first episode, I thought to spice it up a little bit. So I asked my friend Novalee Wilder, who is a numerologist. She was a guest in my podcast last year in March. And if you haven't checked our episode about numerology, please do. I will put a link in the show notes just in case you want to listen, because the episode was really, really good. And we became friends since, and I'm so happy she's going to interview me today. So hello, Novalee.
Hello, Mara. I'm so excited to be interviewing you. This time it's me with the sharp questions and you with the good answers.
Yeah.
So I want to dive straight into it, and I want to ask, since you always ask your guests to tell their story, I want to hear your story about how your intuition plays a part in your life and how it influences what you do now.
Well, I always been very intuitive. Just I don't think I realized. I always made my choice based on how they made me feel. If they made me feel good, rather than being logically the best thing to do. So I can tell you now that was my intuition talking. At the time, I didn't know that was my intuition. So it's always been a thing for me. It's always been about feelings, maybe because I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Cancer sign, and so it's naturally an intuitive sign, but this is how intuition has always played a role for me in my life, especially in important parts of my life, I would say. So yeah, that's how it started. And I think I realized my intuition was really strong when she made me move to London in 2009.
And how did that happen? How did she make you move?
Well, I went to London in 1996 for the first time because I was so wanting to go, and I went there. And when I went there, I just felt I had to, that was my place. Somehow it felt really good. It felt like that was a place for me to be. But when I went there, I was only 14 the first time. So clearly that was not something that was going to happen anytime soon. But I remember I went back home and I said to my mom, when I turn 18, I'm going to move to London. And that didn't happen. And then it didn't happen when I was 18. It happened when I was 27. But London was the only place that made me feel that way. I went to other places. I went to Germany, I went to France, and, holidays. Yeah, it was a good feeling. The kind of feeling you don't want to have because you're on holiday, but it didn't have the feeling of feeling my place, if that makes any sense. And in 2009, towards the end of 2008, I think a lot of things in my life were kind of not going as I wanted them to go, job related things, and then issues at home with my mom. Yeah, I had a boyfriend that was good, but somehow 2009, I think, was the year that showed me you kind of have to change something. So I started looking for a room in a flat with my colleague, but somehow that was not enough. And then people started to be like, oh, what are you doing? Why don't you look for a place in London? I was like, well, yeah, let's just not open that conversation. And the conversation was open. People were somehow all woke up to ask me the same question every time they were seeing me. And I was like, what the hell? And at that point, my intuition really started to be like, yeah, you kind of have to go. And I was like, no, I don't have to go anywhere. And the more I tried to shush it, the more she became louder and louder. And at some point I was like, okay, I think I need to go. And I left everything and everyone and I moved, and she was right. Yeah.
Good for her. So it seems that like intuition has just, I guess, like forced you to do certain things. But in your work, I'm thinking you don't force your clients to deal with their intuition in the same way. So like, how do you use it in your business? You are the intuition queen.
Yeah, no, I don't force my clients. Absolutely. No. What I realized through the years and through my personal experience is that when you're meant to do certain things, that voice inside of you will become stronger and will ask you to do things that you don't think you can or you didn't think you will ever do. And so from when I moved, I started to pay attention to my intuition more, also because I started to learn about intuition, and I started to read books about, being a thing and being the thing that helps you make the right decision if you tune into it. And for me, it was easy because it kind of it was kind of a natural thing for me. I just learned to listen to it more because I realized that my decisions were always better when I was listening to it. And if I wasn't listening to it, somehow at some point I will get frustrated. So I started to realize the difference between me listening to myself and me not listening to myself. So that was my process through the years. And this is why I became the intuition queen, is because intuition for me is really, really strong. And now I can tell you after that long that, I get messages in every kind of way. And the way I use intuition, I help my clients to tune into their intuition, is only because for me, tuning into your intuition means trusting yourself and trusting that part of yourself, that part of your soul that knows better, that always knows what you need to do, where you need to go, without having people telling you what they think is best for you, because your intuition, your soul knows already what's best for you. But obviously, we've been conditioned to listen maybe to our parents, to our bosses, to the people that love us, the people that don't love us, the people we look up to. We've been conditioned to follow routes and situations that are not necessarily the one we should be following. Maybe, I can give you a very easy example. You go for 2 interviews, one place feels better, one place gives you more money. You'll technically go for the one that gives you more money. What I really want my clients to understand is that if your body tells you something that is different from what the crowd tells you, from what the conditioning tells you, then that's where you should be going, because ultimately you're making decision for yourself. And what I want people to understand is that if they trust themselves, if they trust their intuition, they're always going to get to a place and to a decision that it's good for them, even if it doesn't look like, but it will be. So that's why I work so much on helping my clients to tune into to their intuition.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking, you said that that certain things were very easy for you with intuition. I'm thinking, were there any things that were really hard, like things you struggle with? Maybe things you were surprised that you were struggling with in this process?
Yeah, when you allow what other people suggest you to do to actually get to you, and you follow what they say, and you knew it, you should have not done that. But because I wasn't very confident when I was in my 20s, and even when I moved to London at times, I didn't feel like confident enough to make certain decisions. So you look up to maybe your friend that knows more about this thing, and this person that is an expert in that. And the times that I did that, even if I thought, yeah, what they're saying makes sense for me, but I don't know, somehow I would like to do this differently, but then I didn't follow that, and I went for the advice that they gave me. Then I regretted it because I realized along the lines, down the line, that that wasn't what I really should have done, because maybe something happened or I didn't feel good afterwards.
So
So
people's opinions or advice was almost like a distraction.
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Even if they, maybe I asked for an opinion, it was always because maybe I was scared or I wasn't feeling secure within myself, and so I was looking for somehow someone to make a decision for me, thinking it would be a better decision, although deep within me I knew that I knew what I had to do, just it was easier to follow someone else in the moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's an interesting thing to trust other people too, because you had that love affair with London. You stayed there for many years, and then suddenly something inside you was like, wait a minute, I need to move back to Italy. And you did. How does it feel now to be back? Like, and also like trusting that inner voice that says, we're going back.
Yeah, well, that was interesting because first of all, I never really thought I was gonna move back to Italy ever. Well, not ever, but not now. I had a conversation a week before I made that decision with a friend of mine, Italian friend of mine, and something within me was telling me, it's okay, it's enough with London, start looking for another place. So I've been having this desire to leave London for a little while, let's say for 2 years. Then I started my business, so I left my job and I was trying to figure out how to do that. So moving was not something that had a priority. And then the pandemic started. So obviously you just stay where you are. You stay put and you do your own thing. But that was not what my soul wanted. So I was having this conversation with a friend saying, for the last couple of years, I had this desire to move somewhere else. I'd love to go somewhere maybe sunny. I knew it had to be a sunny place. I just had enough of the weather. That was one thing, not the thing. That was one thing that I was starting not to deal with in a good way, because I think it was one of the signals that it was time for me to go. And she was like, oh, where are you gonna go? Are you gonna come back? And I was like, no, I'm trying to figure out where to go. Somewhere sunny, possibly with a beach. I'd love to go to US, but it's complicated. I'm figuring it out. So this was the conversation 1 week before, and then something happened with my landlady at the time, and I just heard this voice, because it became a voice. It was a feeling from within me, and then a voice that said, oh, you just moved back to Italy. And I was like, what? But in the surprise, the feeling that I had in my body was such a great relief.
Mm-hmm.
And so I paid attention. I'm like, okay, wait a second. What do you mean I moved back to Italy? And the more I started thinking about it, the more it felt good. And so before I actually did the whole thing, I came back here for 3 weeks just to see how I felt being here, if there were any other messages coming through, and it just felt really good. And somehow things in London were actually going very bad. So I just started to feel really restless and really uncomfortable there. And I just knew I had to move. So I moved in March, and I'm just really happy to be here. I just know this is the place where I need to be. There's something happening here. I don't know yet, but I just feel really good. So to me, this is a sign that I had to shift my energy, and my energy has shifted massively. I had not realized how much my energy was low when I was back in London for a lot of reasons that I was not paying attention to. And here, there are a lot of things that I I'm still working on, like, you know, recreating a network of friends, because after 12 years I only have two, and I resonate with them. I love them a lot, but they have kids, and their lifestyle is very different from mine. They don't do what I do. So I'm feeling lonely sometimes, because, you know, I don't have that crowd of friends where you can go like, oh, let's go for a, you know, a beer or something. But I have that energy that I didn't have before. I almost feel like that kind of very high vibe energy that I had when I moved to London back in 2009. So clearly there is something for me here, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm thinking observing you from the outside through a screen, mostly through 2020. I feel like I can tell that in London, you were not hiding, but you had to like force certain parts of you to be more visible. You had to like up your light to kind of withstand maybe the energy around you. And in Italy, it just seems way more natural.
Yeah.
And it seems like you don't have to, I don't even know if I want to say fight to be seen, but like fight to have space around you. And that kind of leads
You're
me
right.
into, yeah, it leads me into the next question, because I want to ask, what is the link with colors and how you help people? Because I can also tell that your colors have been like brighter after you moved.
Yeah, what you said is so right. Yeah, you're right. I think you painted the perfect picture. I had to make an effort when I was in London, and I can only realize that now. I didn't think I was making an effort. I think it was a part of the process. But here, yes, the energy is completely different. It feels to me way more open, way easier, way more lighter. And so therefore I also feel lighter. And yes, I don't feel like I need to do anything. Like right now I'm just being me, very happy to be under the sun, to be in 35 degrees, whatever degrees there are. And it just feels like, okay, so whatever needs to come through will come through. I just need to be me. And I can finally, you know, for me, the weather has such a major impact on the way I feel, because I'm a Cancer sign. I was born in summer, and the sun, the light, the hot weather really makes me happy. I'm always super hype it's kind of like I wake up in spring and summer. But in London, it was very difficult to have that kind of awakening, because the weather is always dark and gray and cold, and then you have a few days of summer, but then it gets colder. So I feel that affected my energy. While here, I've been feeling like my energy is rising up every single day, and definitely the weather plays a part in this. And yeah, and here everything is always brighter in terms of colors. Like colors even in winter are brighter here. We just use brighter colors. And so for me, this is such a happy place to be, because I can be super colorful. I can find a lot of colors. Everything is lighter. And yeah, I think this reflects in the energy and what you're seeing, you've been seeing lately.
Do you feel like, yeah, I was just thinking that you work with colors and you do color readings for people. Do you feel like you actually see, I mean, I guess now that you express your own colors more, and with color, I also just mean your light, because color is light. I don't know, moving to Italy, has it like shown you even more how you work with people with color? Like if you can speak to that.
It's funny how easy it is for me to get people interested in this.
You feel like people are just more open to color?